There are disturbing new questions today about the intelligence failures that may have allowed Jihadi John, as he became known, to become the ruthless ISIS murderer that he is today. Let's bring in our chief national security correspondent, Jim Sciutto, once again. You're getting new information on what happened.
Well, the more you look into this, it is very clear that this man was no surprise. He was not new to security services. In fact, they first became aware of him in 2009. So we're talking nearly 6 years ago, when he made a trip that they suspected might have been truly intended to take him to Somalia and join the group Al-Shabaab there, the Al-Qaeda-type group. In the years since then, they questioned him multiple times, detained him a number of times, this over several years. In fact, there were even reports that they tried to recruit him as an informant inside the Islamist community in Britain to inform on other possible Islamic extremists in the country. He said no, he would not do that. But clearly they had something that worried him over the time. And the question now, of course, as he has been identified, is how many signals were missed and why?
This knife.
To the outside world, his face is always obscured by his now familiar black mask. But new details show that Mohammed Emwazi, the terrorist known as Jihadi John, was a familiar face to British authorities for more than 5 years. The scrutiny began in 2009 when Emwazi was detained in Tanzania on suspicions he intended to travel to Somalia to join the Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab. Both British and Dutch investigators interviewed him, say friends, and his then fiancée.
There was a community of people in West London from the late 2000s sort of onwards who got very excited about the conflict that was happening in Somalia, and we saw a number of them going out there to fight, and some of them rose up to quite senior positions within Al-Shabaab. Mohammed Emwazi seems to have known some of these people.
British authorities detained him again in 2010, preventing him from returning to his birthplace, Kuwait. "I had a job waiting for me and marriage to get started," Emwazi wrote in a June 2010 email to the Muslim advocacy group Cage. In 2011, British court documents obtained by the BBC claimed that Emwazi associated with members of an Islamic extremist group that funneled money, fighters, and equipment to Somalia. Emwazi was never charged with a crime. Today, British Prime Minister David Cameron defended Britain's domestic intelligence service, the MI5.
In my almost 5 years' experience of Prime Minister, I think they are incredibly impressive, hard-working, dedicated, courageous and effective at protecting our country. All of the time, they're having to make incredibly difficult judgments.
They make those difficult judgments in the face of daunting numbers. Britain has thousands of suspected jihadis and jihadi sympathizers. And a senior British diplomat tells CNN that the profile of jihadi recruits has expanded to include rich and poor, educated and uneducated, and more, men and women. Emwazi's case has an alarming parallel to the attacks in Paris. The gunmen who stormed the magazine Charlie Hebdo, the Kouachi brothers, had been known to French security services for years and put on, then taken off surveillance only months before their deadly rampage.
UK authorities lost track of Emwazi in 2013 when, after he changed his name to Mohammed Al-Ayan, he then attempted to return to his birthplace in Kuwait. He was blocked from going there. He then left the country, and it was determined a few months later in 2013 that he had indeed gone on to Syria. And then, of course, it was in August of last year when he first appeared in one of those beheading videos.
And so it wouldn't have been that difficult for him to get from the United Kingdom somewhere in Europe, take a train to Turkey, and then cross the border into Syria.
That's the thing, and that's what we've seen so many other times now, whether it's the British girls that we've seen recently, other people from France, elsewhere in Europe, and even people attempting from the U.S. now.